And we are live. This is Travis Witherspoon from Carter Capital, helping you fight for your financial freedom throughout the forest market. I have 9:25. 9:25 is 5 minutes away from the overall opening of today's actual trading for indexes and everything else like that. Super excited to be able to talk to everyone, be able to take a look at some overall trading opportunities, and then after that, be able to hopefully be able to make some money off of them. So, if you're interested in being able to learn a little bit more about what we end up doing, please do me a favor. Make sure you go to capital.com/start here. Once again, capital.com/start here, and be able to go from there. Also, like always, I end up using the broker Osprey FX. If you're interested in being able to learn a little bit more about what Osprey FX does when it comes down to fast spreads and everything else like that, it's always a good chance. It's always a good time to be able to look for a broker that can be able to empower you to be able to do what you want to do when it comes down to trading. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started. I'm not a CTA, so I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or to sell. What I'm going to do is teach you education, and from the education, you can be able to make your own informed decision. I understand that forex trading involves risk. It involves risk of being able to make money, also involves risk of being able to lose money, so please keep that in mind. And understand that past performance is not indicative of future results, which means that if you end up making money yesterday, it's not promised that you're going to end up making money today. So, with that being said, as we go through and take a look at all of our charting action and everything else that we end up doing from a trading perspective, I end up taking a look at four things before I end up taking any type of trade. Now, keep this in mind. Everyone that's inside of this live, and I want you to truly understand this. Um, each and every one of y'all are your own individual business, right? Well, I want you to treat yourself like a Fortune 500 company. If you're a Fortune 500 company, the most important thing is your assets or your capital. So we got to make sure that we end up protecting our capital and being able to do that. So every opportunity that you end up looking for when it comes down to trading, it's just like you hiring somebody when it comes down to work. So you only want to find the best people that can be able to be assets to you instead of being a liability. And this is the way that I end up doing that. Take a look at time frame alignment. You want to see if the weekly and the daily are trading in the same direction. We look for an overbought and oversold stochastic zone that matches up with it. And then after that, we look for a catalyst, which is a counter trend line break or any other news that goes along with that. So there we go. Get that out the way. Take a look at the economic calendar very briefly. Today, we have a trader day? Do we have a fundamental day? We have a fundamental day. So what you're going to end up seeing is Chair Powell going to end up testifying in 2 minutes, and then after that, we've already had other news that's end up coming out. The Bank of Canada Consumer Price Index actually ended up being very well, and if you end up taking a look at the Consumer Price Index for the pound, they actually end up being very good as well. So we should, if people want to take a look at the pound and want to take a look at the Canadian dollar, there goes your information that you end up taking a look at for those pairs. Let's take a look at the big three very briefly because the market is about to open up when it comes down to indexes. So I just want to kind of get an idea about what's happening. Recently, I already made some money on Nas. My expert advisor ended up hitting that one for us. I ended up getting out early on it. I manually got out of it, but I ended up turning into a pretty good win for today. We actually ended up winning on the trade for DAX yesterday. So if you ended up taking that trade while I was in our live stream yesterday, then congratulations when it comes down to that as well. The United States dollar index from a weekly perspective is still considered to be bullish. The market has pushed up to the upside. It has completed the de-extension and it's getting toward the buy zone. So that may end up meaning that the dollar may end up getting a little bit stronger overall. We take a look at what's happening today. We see that the market has pushed up, and I see that sellers have got in and started to sell the market down, at least from this standpoint, based off of this 80-20 rule. Now, overall, we see that the weekly's up. We see that the daily is not necessarily in the greatest position to make a move off of it because it's not necessarily in a trading zone for its buy zones. So I'm not going to end up looking at U.S. dollar pairs as candidates of being able to trade today. So I'm going to take that out the way and move forward. 9:29, we're getting ready to start in a few minutes when it comes down to the indexes. Take a look at oil. Oil has pushed all the way down to 102.30 or 102.21. From a weekly perspective, the market has been bearish. From the daily perspective, the market has been bearish as well. So if we look at that, you want to look at selling opportunities. In this case, I would say look at scalping opportunities. You can be able to make a move off of that. Let's go to the 2 hour and see what's happening with that. 2 hours in the buy zone. We talked about this yesterday. You would have caught this bear type of not necessarily a bear flag. It just came into consolidation. You would have caught that and then caught the market when it kind of retraced. Then could have been in. In this situation, I did not catch that, so I'm not going to chase the market. Look at what's happening with oil. We see that the market is going to the downside, so you should expect the Canadian dollar will probably end up following suit. Let's take a look at gold real quick before I take a look at the indexes because the market is at 930 real quick. Take a look at what's happening with gold. Gold fell all the way down. Um, Gold fell all the way down to 1804. Since then, the market has had a large drop off in the last few minutes. Try to see what's actually happening with that before we end up making any type of movement. We will take a look at Bitcoin as well for the people that take a look at Bitcoin for it's being able to trade. I am seeing that the market did go all the way down to 17,000. I think I've said that the market could go all the way down to 12 if some bad scenarios actually end up happening. So I want to make sure we end up talking about that as well. Weekly, when it comes down to gold, the market ended up going all the way down to the 786. Then after that, broke the counter trend line break. It broke the inner trend line, gravitated toward the outer trend line. Remember, the market from there, you end up having this is where the real test happens. The market ended up rejecting off of this area. And because it did reject off of that area, the market is considered to be bearish now overall. We take a look at this from a daily perspective. We are still in this consolidation area. I remember saying that if the market going based off of previous history and how the market's been moving over the course of the last few years, the market now, instead of going all the way down and breaking support and then using support as resistance, what has been happening is that the market has been doing a movement like this. The market has fell down, broke out, went back into the medium portion of it, and then after that broke to the downside. So we have to keep that in mind when it comes down to movement. I said that I wasn't trading this yesterday based off of that. I'm still in the trade at 1850. So I'm going to see how this market is going to react. Hopefully it stays at support. We take a look at what's happening with the United States dollar index. Remember, the United States dollar index is not necessarily giving us a great movement. It's not showing whether it's going to be a bullish or bearish movement. Right now, it's kind of a little bit of an indecision. And that's the reason why we're kind of seeing this in consolidation as well. But the Japanese yen is basically doing the same movement. So I'm not going to trade that. The only one that's giving a clear view about what's actually happening today is the Canadian dollar and what's happening with oil. But I think that we're a little bit out of range to be able to make a move from there. So we're going to focus in on what's happening with the indexes. You take a look at this, we can see that at least at the start of the day, that NAS 100 is actually pushing up to the upside. I ended up making money off of a sale early this morning. I feel very good that I ended up getting out of it early based off of what ended up happening from here. But let's talk about it. From a weekly perspective, let me take off this. From a weekly perspective, this market is still considered to be bearish to me. I think there's still room for this market to complete the extension at 10,780 or 10,760, which is the weekly D extension. Take a look at the daily. You can see that the market has pushed up towards that was a trend line, but that's an ABCD movement. Let me get this out the way. Market broke a counter trend line, then after that pushed to the downside. It broke another trend line to the downside and went from there. Currently, right now, the current movement of the market overall is bearish, but we looked at the last 3 days, we've seen that the market has been pushing up to the upside. So currently, right now, this is looking more like consolidation or the beginning portions of consolidation before this market actually makes a true move. Because of that, it makes it kind of hard to be able to say, even though I'm looking at a bullish move, if I want to be able to get into the position. Now, this is where volume profile kind of comes in at, so you can be able to kind of make a solid decision. We're looking at volume profile. I'm just going to zoom out and get a little bit more information. Let's go back to the daily real quick before I do that. Take a look at the daily for its volume profile. Remember, we have this large pocket to the downside that it's about to finish up in this overall area. We're basically at almost at the warning area when it comes down to this market actually falling. If it does break below 10,800, then it could fall all the way back down to 7,000 or 7,700. It's something to be able to pay attention to. Overall, we take a look at what's happening based off of the daily. We see that the indicators are telling us that it's basically bearish between the down chain trend meter and the trend meter overall. trend ribbon and the trend meter overall. But we're seeing a little bit of low volume. Well, we're seeing a lot of low volume. Take a look at that from a daily perspective. The stochastic is, let's see what stochastic is at currently. The stochastic is in the buy zone. We end up having that strong move to the downside. We had the breakout, but we never had like a true retest. So if I'm looking at this and I had to make a decision on if I'm going to make any move, I would still say that the move is probably best to the upside, but the weekly and daily are not trading in the same direction. So it's kind of hard for me to sit up there and just say, hey, just jump into a pair just because the daily looks like it's going up, and I just want to get into a trade. I don't want to do that. I'd rather get into a trade when everything's aligned instead of just guessing and just saying, hey, just for the short term, let's go ahead and buy it. But if you are a person that's looking to be able to scout, what I would say is this. Go back to the 2 hour. You're going back to the 2 hour. You see that the 2 hour is from a stochastic perspective. Where is it at? From a stochastic perspective, it's in the buy zone. We do have a counter trend line break, so that could give you a reason to be able to look at being able to buy. If we take a look at what's happening with the volume profile, we have a large area that needs to be filled until we end up getting into this little high volume node right here, right around 11,900. We're at 11,468. If the market breaks past 11,475, 457, then we could see this market start to push up towards this pocket, at least up to 11,700. So that could be another 300 points for its overall movement to the upside. Once again, this is more of a scalping opportunity than anything else. So what I will do is this. Let's take a look and see what's happening with the fibs, and that kind of give us a little bit of an answer. Once again, this is more of a scalping trade. I wouldn't look at this as a long-term trade. We are in a retracement week. Something to consider. The market fell all the way down to the 5.0. That means that the market could go all the way up to 12,000. My resistance 3 is at 11,980. I can see a reason for being able to buy this if you are interested in being able to do that. I think this is one of those situations to where you would kind of limp in just because you're at a low volume node. Just because you're at a low volume node. If you're just trying to trade just the low volume by itself, I would trade it up to right around 11,755 before doing anything else like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to end up I'm going to take a limp buy, meaning that I'm just going to end up getting in with a very low lot size. Even though I know that the position could go all the way up to 12,000, I'm probably not going to be interested in staying in the trade that long. What I will end up doing is that I will take a long position from here up to just this low profile arm right there. My stop loss will be just below the swing low, which is just below this overall number, 11,280. So anything below 11,280 is going to end up being good. I'm going to say 11,275 as a position for us being able to get in. Risk reward is 1 to 1.58. Don't like the risk reward. I'd rather the risk reward be a little bit higher if I'm going to end up making a move like this. It's almost like beggars can't be choosers on this one too, though. What y'all think? The people that are watching online, what do y'all think? Do y'all like that position? Do you think that we could probably take this a little bit higher? Point of control is at 11,871. We could necessarily say we can go after that. I think the easiest position would be 11,750. But that also means that we're looking at a 2 hour perspective. We're looking at a little bit more than half of a day of movement if the market's going to end up pushing up to the upside. I think I might stick with my guns and stay away from it. Let's see. Daily is showing bullish movement from a retracement. Weekly overall is bearish. Would like to get y'all opinion on this. People in the chat, type in the comment section what you would do. Would you look at being able to buy? Would you look at being able to sell? Would you look at being able to buy? Would you not take a trade off for this one? Keep in mind, weekly is bearish, daily is bullish, so there's no time frame alignment with it looking at short-term movements. But we'd like to know y'all opinion on what y'all would do. But I will say, if you're trying to be safe, and if this is a position for us being able to get in, this is a very small percentage trade. And if you're going to take a small percentage trade based off of this volume breakouts or low volume nodes, then the easiest position will end up going up to 11,750. That'll be pretty much it when it comes down to that. I'm going to stay away from it. I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm not going to. If I don't feel comfortable with it, there's no reason to sit up there and jump after it. So I'm going to stay away from that one. Not going to make a move off of that one. Let's take a look and see what's happening with the US 30 real quick. We'll go from there. US 30 weekly is going toward the downside. We can clearly see that. I thought I had more stuff on here. Okay. Weekly, if we take a look at it, we're in the middle of a low volume node. The market is clearly going to the downside. There's a D extension at 27,663. That is what I'm trading to. That's my overall movement toward the downside that I am interested in being able to trade in. Now, from that standpoint, obviously we just got to look and see what's actually happening overall. If we go to the daily, we're probably still in a retracement week. We see that the market is being bullish right here. Same deal. So that means that even though the overall market is bearish, we're going to see that this market may end up pushing back up, turning past resistance, into a future support. There is a low trading area where the market or a high volume area where the market end up basically rejecting off of at 31,450 at first. The market may end up pushing up to that area first before actually falling down. The weekly and the daily are not aligned for its overall movement. Kind of going back to what I ended up saying with Nas. That's the reason why I'm kind of like iffy when it comes down to Nas. Even though I see a big move, the question is it worth taking that big move, or would it be better to get into to just get into a position to where you do see time frame alignment? So just like that one, I'm going to end up passing on that. I'm not gonna end up making a move. There's no time frame alignment. That goes with the first thing that we always talk about. There has to be time frame alignment before pulling the trigger. German 40. Take a look at what's happening based off of the weekly. Type in a while, yes, if this makes sense on what I'm talking about. If it does not make sense and you would like to be able to learn a little bit more, then obviously I'm gonna show you the link to cartercowcapital.com/start here so you can be able to get more information. Okay. So let me get rid of this. From a weekly perspective, we can clearly see that the market is bearish. There's a point of control at 12,300. Based off of that overall movement, this is our field that we need to pay attention to. That's our A. Turn on the magnet. Here's our A. Here's our B. Market went all the way up to the 618, which means that the market could fall all the way down to 10,043. Now, does that mean that it's going to end up falling all the way down to this position long term? No, I don't necessarily think that it would, but it could overall. If we go into what's actually happening with this, we do have a counter trend line break, which is right here. Take that magnet off. So there is a counter trend line break to the upside. That has happened. Remember, when there's a breakout, typically there'll be a retest, but we haven't seen that retest yet. We take a look at the daily. We can clearly see that the market is in the buy zone when it comes down to the stochastic. So that means that the market may end up having a little bit of a U-turn. But the one thing that I do see is this. Yesterday, we end up seeing this movement right here where The buyers tried to push up and try to make a move off of it, but the sellers quickly pushed it to the downside. If we clearly see this market fall down again, then you may end up seeing this market kind of U-turn and kind of go from there to the downside. So um, there could be an expectation that the market could continue to be able to fall. Overall, I don't like what a stochastic is, so it means that we can't sit up there and place in our biggest bet, but we have to be kind of mindful of what we're looking at. From a 2 hour perspective, the market is in the buy zone, so that means that there's no trade to be able to take, at least not yet. There's really no, the market has kind of did a little bit of a double bottom, but there's no true resistance area yet for like consolidation. I'm going to place it right over the top of this gap. Typically, when the market ends up having a gap, it will typically end up filling it. So I'm not going to make a move off of this until I end up seeing if this market is going to push back up. If it does push back up, it could go up to 13,500 before being able to make a move, and we'll come back on that one. So that's the biggest ones from there. I'm going to go back to NAS 100 real quick and take a look at it. We talked about limping into it possibly, so I do want to see something. We do have a counter trend line break. The market's in the buy zone. We do have a little bit of an area. All right, here's the game plan. This will be my game plan. 15 minutes in the buy zone. Because the 15-minute is in the buy zone, what I would end up, in the sell zone, what I would end up doing is that I would wait to see if this market's going to end up retesting. There's a breakout. Let's see if the market will end up retesting. If it does hold this area, then after that, I will look at being able to buy it up to the position that we end up talking about, 11,780, after that retest, if that does happen. So that would be the thing that I would look for if you're interested in being able to get in, because that means that it actually proved that it was actually ready to be able to make a move to the upside instead of just guessing when it comes down to this point. But there is a true counter trend line break. The market is in a 2-hour buy zone, so you could have half of the day of this market basically pushing bullish. We are past a high volume area. We're above the point of control, which means the market is bullish. Keep that in mind. And be able to go from there. If you want to limp in on this bet, you possibly could put a small lot size in early, and then after that, wait for the market to be able to push up a little bit later on. Now, the extension off of this one is at 12,900. There's 3 points that I want you to be able to pay attention to. Resistance 1 is at 11,698, so 11,700. Resistance 2 is at 11,816. Resistance 3 is at 11,980. So those are the 3 positions that I would pay attention to. If you have not gotten to this trade yet, 15-minute is in the sell zone, so you could see that this market could have a little bit of a retracement first before actually pushing up to the upside. But keep in mind, the daily and the weekly are not aligned. Okay, so long-term trading is not a portion of what you're about to do with this one. This one is short-term trading. This one is we try to get what we can, and then after that, get out of the move and kind of go from there. Don't sit up there and try to overplay your hand on this one because we are in a retracement week more than anything else. Type in a Y or yes if that makes sense. Type in a Y or yes if that makes sense. But here is the overall swing and where the market could potentially go. So I'm going to place this as a quick idea. We're going to publish this now. And we'll kind of go from there. So this is US. Nope, this is not 100. 100. Scout. Buy. Trade. All right, so we're looking at longing. Let's say the one thing I don't like about this sometimes is when you try to push this in, you kind of lose where your stop loss is going to end up being. Okay, I'll go back to the publish. So stop loss 11,280. Let's see, entry. After 15-minute counter trend line break in buy zone. Stop. Stop loss 12,780, I believe. 12,780. Profit. I'm gonna say take profit, and I'm gonna say low profile. I'm gonna say low volume area or low volume. Take profit. Low volume is going up to this node up here, 11,780. Um, then after that, you have a couple different resistance points. Resistance one is 11,698. Resistance two is 11,816. Resistance three is 11,980. So there you go. Tags 100. That's 100 long. Fibonacci's. I'm just going to put the place it in like that. So there you go. Everybody that wants to be able to take a look at it, that is posted. Oh, quick search. Trend analysis, chart patterns, technical indicators. All right, cool. That is. I hate when they do that. Okay. Everybody, give me one quick second. I'm sorry. At the 15 minute. I'm so hungry. Stop loss. Resistance one, resistance two, resistance three. There it is. All right, everybody, there you go. If you want to take a look at that, you can be able to go from there. That is the first one that we'll take a look at. Let's take a look at and see what's happening with Bitcoin real quick. I am interested in being able to see what's happening with Bitcoin. Type in a wire yes if you was able to get into Bitcoin when the market dropped down to 17,000. Let's see how many people actually end up doing that. Or let's see if you're waiting. Anybody else catch the market when the market ended up giving a little bit of a drop? Anybody? So this is what I'm saying. One, take a look at what's happening. The market has broken out of a consolidation zone, broke to the downside, completed the extension to 25,000. That's what ended up happening based off the weekly. We go to the daily and see what's happening with the daily. We have a new fib that the market is working off of now. Now, when the market ended up retracing, it retraced all the way to the 23.6. And because it retraced to the 23.6 and did not go up to 38.2, then that means that we're basically looking at an 80-20 rule. If you're not familiar with an 80-20 rule, what I'm going to end up doing is that I'm going to end up having a teaching session a little bit later on today with another live stream. But essentially what that means is that the market doesn't retrace all the way to the 236, and that means it's going to find a little bit of hesitation right around the 127%. That's exactly what ended up happening. The market broke, did not fall all the way down. And typically when you look at that, there's an 80% chance that the market could reject based off of that area. And then after that, be able to push back up to the upside. For the people that are looking at being able to get in the NAS, I would say, hey, if you're going to limp in, go ahead and limp in now. The market is starting to move. The market is starting to move very hard now. I actually ended up pulling the trigger while we was actually talking at 11,478. Didn't expect that it was going to end up making the move that it's doing now, but there it is. I thought we could be able to wait a little bit longer, but I did limp in on that one. But we take a look at this. Daily is in the no trade zone. Market has rejected off of this outer trend line. First, there's a D extension all the way down to 10,835. Now, I do expect that the market could possibly push back up to the upside, and then after that, reject to the downside from there. That's the first thing that I end up saying about that overall move. Um, but there's no true confirmation of the market actually breaking to the downside yet. And because of that, I will kind of stay away first until we actually end up seeing this market kind of make a move from there. Once that happens, then after that, you may end up being good to go. But currently, right now, there's nothing to do on Bitcoin. Let's go to Ethereum real quick. Let's see. Ethereum, you go to the weekly. Ethereum has not completed the deal. Well, yeah, it did. What was the flow price? Ethereum did hit the D extension based off the weekly. We talked about that earlier. From a daily perspective, we can see that the market has not hit the second fee of the extension at 720. The market is in a buy zone, but the market still is in a push zone for it being able to go from there. I'm actually more excited about Ethereum just because you can get way more value based off of being able to get in. But I would kind of pay attention to be able to say if something was to happen. Obviously, I think it would happen based off of Bitcoin making its move first, then anybody else making the move from there. So just keep that in mind. I will be able to go from there. Now, I'm going to come back to Nas. We just talked about Nas for its overall move. I said that two things could end up happening. One, you could be able to catch a base off a counter trend line break, or you can be able to limp in. Currently, right now, what's actually happening is that the market is leaving a high-profile volume node, leaving another high-profile volume, or leaving a mid-tier high-profile volume node. That's the reason why the market is actually popping up to the upside because there's low trading volume. We've been talking about that for a long time. We actually end up doing a talk Tuesday about that. If you did miss that, just go to my actual profile. You can be able to see that as well. It basically explains that, explains how to be able to look at that, how to be able to take, how to be able to use low profile volume to your overall advantage. Now, with that being said, couple things. One, if you look at this information and just try to skew this information up just a little bit. The reason why I end up saying 780 is because two things. One, if you look at it, 864 is the somewhat point of control. Let me see if I can get more information. I would do session volume on this, but I don't think that. Hold on, let's look at session volume real quick. See if we get anything from session volume. Okay, from a session volume perspective, the point of control was at 11,438. The market is considered to be bullish. If we look at the last session volumes that we've basically been looking at previously, the next one that we're going up to will end up being at 11,860. 11,860. Well, that'll be way in this area. We'll be out before that actually happens. If you are in this trade, so that actually makes me feel a little bit more comfortable about what I'm looking at overall before being able to make a move from there. Yeah, I'll feel a little bit more comfortable based off of that. Currently, right now, based off of Olympian, currently up right around $400 something. We'll see how everything kind of plays out. I haven't placed in the take profits yet, but obviously we placed that in on the idea section. So just keep that in mind. If this thing gives me a 15-minute turnaround, I'll probably end up taking a little bit of profit right off the top, and then after that, moving from there. For the people that are not in yet, I would say just pay attention to this point of control right here. Remember, we want to be able to get out before, at least a portion of it before 11,780. The question is the market going to continue making this move up to the upside? Now, I think the main reason why the market is actually moving up is because, remember, Chair Powell is actually speaking today. And because Chair Powell is actually speaking today, we probably may end up seeing, we're going to see based off of what he's saying, the market will end up having a move to the upside. So that's something to pay attention to. I'm mad that my system did not pick this up for the overall trade, and I had to manually do it. But like I said, the weekly and the daily are not necessarily aligned overall. We are in a retracement week. So because we are in a retracement week, this is nothing more than scalping opportunities. Um, Now, 300 points is not necessarily scalping, but we'll go from there. Do I trade GJ? I trade anything that will make me money. I tell you, anything that can be able to get me into a good position to be able to make me money, then I trade it. Let's take a look at it real quick though, because we talked about it. Talked about it yesterday. Pound yen currently right now. We take a look at it from a weekly perspective. Market is bullish. Stochastic is at 40%, so there's a lot more room to the upside. As what I ended up saying yesterday, the market has broken the U-turn to the upside. It fell down to the 618, which means that the market could move up to 180.75. Are you in a position right now? Are you buying or selling? That's my question for you. Are you buying or selling? Because that'll kind of help me out for us, help me out for direction. Um, what ended up happening was that from a daily perspective, the market has broke to the upside, had a little bit of a retracement. We talked about this yesterday, of being able to talk about this double top that could have happened. I think one of the guys that I ended up talking about, one of the guys I ended up talking to, I ended up saying, hey, that could be a bad thing to be able to pay attention to overall. That did happen based off of the daily. It did reject currently right now. If the market truly breaks this overall high of 168.50, then the market would truly be bullish. So I think that the market is gravitating towards its upside, may end up being a pivot of some sort and being able to go from there. Um, do you ever, okay, you ever traded with support resistance levels breaks on a 15 or 30-minute time frame? Good question. I'm going to be honest with you. I stay the same way all the time. Um, I trade. I look at the weekly for its overall current direction. I look at the daily for its overall trading zones. My automation systems kind of pull up and tell me what the actual support resistance actually are, and then from there, I end up making the decision on what I'm going to end up doing based off of that movement. Um, I don't go as much down to the 15-minute or anything else like that. Um, the reason why I don't do that is because I'm a little bit more of a swing trader. So as soon as I end up leaving from here, I kind of do everything else that I need to do throughout the day. So I try to get the most that I can based off of movements, and then after that, once I end up placing in the trade, if I feel comfortable with it, then I get out the way. For me personally, staying on the 15 or 30-minute time frames means that I'm going to stay in front of the computer to see what's actually happening, and I don't like personally doing that. But I do use support and resistance levels a lot, and I use volume profile a lot as well. Hopefully that answers your question. But overall, I do think that this market is considered to be bullish. You take a look at it from 2 hour time frame. We are in the buy zone for this position, so it could be a particular um, there could be a particular entry that you could look at, but I would not do it until I end up getting confirmation of a counter trend line break to the upside. Until that happens, I would not do anything. But it's aligned. You have opportunity. Place your stop loss below the swing low. Allow the market to be able to fully break to the upside and then go from there. But I would not trade until I get that confirmation. I would not make a move off of this pair until I get that confirmation. Take a look at what's happening with Nas. Just into it. There goes your counter trend line break, or there goes your little bit of resistance. We said in the 15-minute because it is in the sell zone. We may end up seeing if this market may end up pushing to the downside. Um, I think that this market could go up to 780, but I do think that it has to have a little bit of a retracement before being able to go. Currently, right now, it is resting on the pivot of the day, which is at 11,530. As long as the market stays above 11,530 for me, then I'm cool on staying in the pair. If it breaks below 11,530, then after that, I would look at me personally. I would take profit if you have take profit and look to be able to get back in because the 15-minute is in the sell zone. So for me, I'm placing in an alert on this. If the market does break to the downside, then I'm going to exit out of this trade first, and then after that, wait for a low position to be able to go from there. So. Um, Here it is, crossing down once per bar. This would be a get out area. May not even give me a chance to be able to do that. Let's see. This bar closes below that, then I'm going to take my profit. I take the $200 and then move on from there. But it has to close below. As long as it doesn't close below, then we're good. Any other question? Any other question from anybody? For the people that are in on NAS 100, remember 780 is the push zone where you're going to end up getting the most freedom out of it. I do expect that there will be somewhat of a retest of this movement first. And because of that retest, I would get out of the first trade, wait for the counter trend line breaking when the market gets into the 15-minute buy zone. Then after that, look at being able to buy again. But for the first push, I would look at taking profit if it breaks below the pivot of the day, 11,535. All right, so that is the trade of the day. That is on. That is already on TradingView for the ideas. If you like it, please make sure that you end up clicking on that like button and being able to go from there. Now, because we are about to end off today and being able to move from there, I want to welcome some people over to the Carter Cow Academy. If you're interested in being able to learn a little bit more, you can go to cartercowcapital.com/start here, placing your information from there for your email address, first name, last name. We have boot camp, master classes, my automation systems, everything else that we end up doing from there. All you have to do is sign up for one of those sessions. You end up having a free session to see what's actually going on, see what we end up doing on an everyday basis when it comes down to trading. If you're interested in being able to learn a little bit more, just go to the website. I'm going to place it inside the chat section once again for the people that are watching this. Please make sure that you end up clicking on that like button if you felt like I provided you value for us being able to trade. If you are in this trade currently right now, hopefully you are up. Hopefully it does hit the take profit positions that we have been looking at. Would be very nice to be able to have this would be a 4-day streak of actually being able to make money inside of the live sessions. So that would be pretty cool for everyone if that does happen, being able to go from there. Now, once again, remember when we take volume profile trades, we're not trying to get all of it. Don't necessarily look to try to get all of it. We're trying to get as much as we possibly can without having to fight everybody. And what I mean by without having to fight everybody, I want to be able to get out of this trade before this high volume comes, because I know that that's the most safest area to be able to make money off of. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, it could go up a little bit higher. That's totally up to you about how you want to be able to trade it. But I would like to be able to get out personally before all of the action starts to happen. That's just my personal opinion. I do that all the time when it comes down to volume profile trades. Fibonacci trades and everything else like that, we're traded the way that we do based off of Fibonacci. If you're trading this based off of Fibonacci, remember the D extension is all the way up to 12,000. Okay, so you'll be good to go from there. Like always, make sure that you end up planning your trade your plan. Everyone, I see y'all again tomorrow. We'll do this all over again. Hopefully everybody will be a couple dollars richer as we go through and take a look at another trade this upcoming week. Everybody, take it easy.